talking throughout this campaign about my plans to make the state live within its means. Today's initiative, we're going to talk about the fiscal budget. Getting the state budget under control is critical for two reasons. First, because we need to restore the public's trust, and that starts with being accountable to the taxpayers. Second, because the single most important issue is the economy, and we need to show the private sector in Pennsylvania is a place where they can invest with confidence so that they can choose to create jobs right here in the Commonwealth. My opponent, Tom Corbett, has been responsible for balancing a budget just once in his lifetime. And when he did that, he cast a decided vote in favor of a 20% property tax hike. Not reduce expenditures, but voted to raise property taxes. Some people ask why we look at this. Well, we're looking at both of our track records. And I think it's important because it gives you a window of how we will operate going forward. And I'm excited about comparing our backgrounds. And the fact that in my entire career, I've never, ever voted to raise property taxes. We found ways to reform government, found ways to streamline government, and having a record of 8 years as an elected councilman and 7 years running the second largest county, never raising property taxes, as a matter of fact, cutting them several times in my career. My opponent obviously took the easy way out and voted this, he cast a decided vote on a 20% property tax increase for the budget he was responsible for. Today, I want to talk about how Tom Corbett has run the Attorney General's office and share some of the facts. Every year, Tom Corbett has been in Harrisburg. He's asked for more spending for his office. And I have a detail that I'll share with you in a minute. Tom Corbett has asked for an average spending hike of over 7% per year. This year alone, with the state facing a fiscal crisis, he asked for a 13% spending increase. And when Tom Corbett was asked last month to cut his discretionary spending by just 1.9% for all the departments in the state, he wouldn't commit to it. Tom Corbett has also called for reducing the number of state vehicles, which I applaud him for calling for reducing the state vehicles. The only problem, his campaign website says that he will reduce them by 10%. But in reality, his office has increased the taxpayers' funded vehicle fleets by 5% since he took office. Again, you can say one thing, but actions mean something else. And the same Tom Corbett who called for across-the-board budget cuts is also proposing tens of millions of dollars in new spending. It's no wonder that even his Republican allies have increasingly questioned whether Tom Corbett can keep his budget promises. Pennsylvania is facing a budget crisis, and the next governor needs to understand the problem and know how to make the state live within its means. I am the only candidate who can get that job done. Here's my record: 6 balanced budgets, every one on time. And I never, I'll repeat, never increased property taxes. Under my leadership, county general fund budget has increased an average of just 1.7% per year, far below the rate of inflation. I reduced the size of government to save taxpayers $31 million in my first year. I consolidated elected offices to cut waste and to make government more efficient. I cut the number of take-home cars in county agencies under my control by 10%. Pennsylvania families are struggling. We need a governor who understands the problems families are facing, who understands the tough choices the state is facing, and who knows how to make Harrisburg work for the taxpayers. Little background, and I have a detailed report I'll share with you on each year by year for the increased ask for expenditures in the AG's office. What this shows is the continuing trend we're seeing in this campaign, where my opponent likes to talk one way, and he's hoping that no one visits his actions or looks at what he's done. And it's fair game to talk about the only time that he is responsible for a budget, because obviously my background is fair game when they're using it, and we're in debate on that. But the fact that the one time and the one chance he could show what he would do when he came to trying to balance the budget, he chose not to look at getting expenditures under control, but chose to raise property taxes 20%. And you can't be walking around saying you want to reduce fleets and then you actually raise it for your office. You can't be walking around talking about cutting budgets when every single year you ask for more for your own budget. They're the facts. And I know something about running a row officer. As you all know, I was a county controller for 4 years of my career. And you know, the day that I left the county controller's office, again, a row officer has the same kind of constraints that an AG has when it comes to budgetary issues. My budget was the exact same, not a penny more. 4 years later, I made sure, because they were tough economic